Crosspoint? Hey, we are a couple weeks away from Easter, and so I hope that you guys are inviting people to Easter. For whatever reason, I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's because it's like a holiday and all this big stuff and all that, but people are just way more open to an invitation to come to church around Easter, and so that's why we push so hard, like invite your friends to Easter, because we want them to come here and join in what's happening around here and be a part of what God is doing and grow in their relationship with Him. We exist to connect people to Christ and to community. And so just want to encourage you to be inviting. Also, there's a specific way that you guys could help us out right now. We've created an event on Facebook that's called Easter at Crosspoint, okay? And I'm asking you guys to go on there. Actually, if you have a Facebook profile, like pull out your phone right now for me. And go on there and mark yourself as going. You can do it like this. There's some easy steps. I made like a little video this week. Check it out. So you click on the menu button in the bottom, and it'll take you to where you can search for events. You click on events and search. You can search Easter. Sometimes it'll come up with just Easter. When I was making the video, after I'd practiced like 3 times, suddenly it didn't come up with just Easter, so I had to keep typing. So you can search Easter at Crosspoint. And if you'll mark yourself as going to that event, it looks like this. It'll just really help us, really the Facebook algorithms, the more people in our city who have marked themselves as going, the more it will show this to people as just something that's happening in their community. And so it would be a huge help if you could do that for us and help just share with people that we're going to be celebrating what Jesus did for us. And really, Easter is, it is the foundation, it is the cornerstone of our faith. And so I'm really excited to celebrate that with you guys, and I've really enjoyed the last few weeks kind of going through some of Jesus' final days, and we're going to continue talking about that a little bit today. I wanted to first dive in, though, a little bit to kind of how we respond to stress, okay? Because how we respond to stress as humans is an interesting thing, because it feels like it's like total extremes. Like it's one extreme or the other in how we respond. I feel like half the time when I'm really stressed out, I like eat all of my feelings. Right? Like I'm just like, where is the nearest food? I will eat it. I don't care what it is. I'm going to consume all of it. And then the other half, I think about like the first time I was getting ready to teach on a Sunday morning, like I was so stressed for like the week leading up to it. And I was excited to, but mostly just terrified and stressed, right? And so like 2 days before I was getting ready to speak, all of a sudden my body was like, nope. And I couldn't eat anything else. Like nothing sounded good. Like any type of food, just like the thought of eating made me feel like I was gonna vomit, okay? And so like my body was like, no more food, you're too stressed to consume food, right? And we respond in some crazy ways. We do things like sometimes we get really stressed and we shut down completely. Right? We can't do anything. The simplest tasks feel like they are overwhelming. Sometimes we go to the other extreme and we start to like try to overproduce. And so we just go. And we like get overactive, and then eventually we dive off a cliff from that because we just can't go anymore. Sometimes we get really angry because we're at the end of our rope and we start lashing out at people. Sometimes we get stressed about something and we just go to avoidance. We try to put it in a box and just kind of like put it away, and we avoid, and we do anything we can to not think about that thing anymore. And so we just like, we put it over there, and anything else that exists in the entire world doesn't matter if it's not this one thing. We respond to stress in a lot of ways. And the reality is most of them are not very good. They're not helpful in the long run. They might make us feel better for a minute, or they might solve that one problem, but they're going to cause other problems, and they're not really helpful. I think when we look at the final days and really even the final hours of Jesus' life before the crucifixion, we should remember that Jesus was probably pretty stressed. Because Jesus, while being fully man, was also fully God in these moments. And so Jesus knew what was coming. He knew that he was going to be betrayed. He knew that he was going to be arrested. He knew that he was going to be tortured and crucified. He knew that he was going to take on the sin of the world. And as he bore all of our sin, he was going to be separated from the Father. And knowing all of that, even though he's fully God and even though he loves us, I imagine he was still pretty stressed. And so in kind of his final hours of freedom, we see what Jesus does with that time. How he reacts to this overwhelming, all-consuming, stressful situation that he finds himself in. And so today we're going to be in Matthew chapter 26 all morning. So just encourage you to go ahead and be in Matthew 26 with us. It is a very, very long chapter. It's 75 verses long, but we're not going to go through 75 verses. I have this section in the middle that I want to dive into with you guys, okay? So we're going to pick it up in verse 36. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Then Jesus went with them to the olive garden called Gethsemane. And he said, "Sit here while I go over there to pray." Sit here while I go over there to pray. As in his final hours, in his final moments with all of this stress and all this consuming fear, maybe sadness, he says, "Why don't you guys sit here? I'm going to go pray." Guys, there's so much more that we can learn from the ways that Jesus acts in these final moments and the things that he says in these final moments. But honestly, guys, I just believe this week that if we just stopped here, if we literally just opened it up and went, man, Jesus was really stressed. You ever been stressed? Yup, same. What did he do? He prayed. We should pray. And we closed it up and we left. I feel like it was worth it to get up and come to church this morning. This is worth it. When we face difficult times, when we face scary situations, when we feel overwhelmed, we should do what Jesus did. We should pray. We should stop what we are doing. We should carve out enough space to be in some quiet, and we should pray. We should go spend that time with God. But like I said, they told me I have a certain amount of time to talk today, so I'm not going to stop. So let's keep rolling into the next verse here. He took Peter and Zebedee's two sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He takes his closest friends on earth, these three guys with him, a little bit further in to the garden, and then he's honest with them. He's real. Guys, when we are facing scary situations, when we feel overwhelmed and all consumed by the storms of this life, we need to rally our people around us. We need to get with our closest people, and we need to be real. We need to be honest about the pain that we are facing. And look, being real with people is scary. Being honest with people about our brokenness, about our struggles, it can be terrifying. But Jesus lives it out here. He gets these guys and he's like, "Look, I'm Jesus, and I'm stressed about this. I am saddened. I am anguished to the point of death. So will you stay with me? Will you keep watch with me?" And he invites them in. Who do you need to be inviting in to what's going on in your life? Who do you need to be willing to actually open up and say, "Here's where I'm at today"? Jesus continues in verse 39. He went on a little further and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." Guys, this is an incredible prayer. It is honestly an unbelievable prayer in so many ways. The first thing I notice as Jesus goes to the Father about this is that he has a conversation with God expressing his will. And like I said, Jesus is fully man and fully God. He knows the will of the Father. None of this is a surprise. None of this was a bait and switch. Jesus didn't get here to earth and the Father was like, ha, I have a surprise mission for you. Like Jesus knew what he was signing up for. He knew the plan all along. He knows the will of the Father completely, and yet he goes to the Father right here and he's honest with him. He says, God, look, here's where I'm at today. God, if there's another way, if there's another solution to this, if there's any other way than for me to have to endure what I am about to have to endure, God, let's do that one. Let's try that one, Father. And he's real. He's real about his struggles. He's real about this. And guys, we can be real with God. I mean, God already knows anyway. God knows what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And so often, for whatever reason, though, we convince ourselves that when we go pray, when we go have these conversations with God, that we should put on this good Christian mask. Like, hey, God, what's up? Just loving everything today. Thanks for sunshine. Jesus is real with him here. He's like, Father, I don't want this. I don't like this. I don't desire this. Got any other options? Guys, we can be real with God. We can go to him and be like, God, I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't desire what's happening to me. I don't desire what's happening to my family. I don't like it. God, I'd really love it if you would change it. God, even if it's your will, I don't actually like it. And we can do that, and it's not sin for us to be open and honest with God and real with him about our struggles, as long as the second half of Jesus' prayer that was true for him is also true for us. See, we can be open and honest with the Father, but it all has to be under this umbrella of ultimately, I submit to you. Look, here's where I'm at, here's what I want, here's what I desire, but ultimately, I submit to you. And so if it's your will, I trust you. I trust that your ways are higher than my ways. I trust that you are God and I am not. And so if it's your will, that's what I want, God. Guys, we serve a God who can handle us being honest. But we also have to remember that he is God and that we're not, and that he does know better than us. And Jesus lives this out so well. He continues, and this happens in the next verse. Then he returned to the disciples and found them asleep. He said to Peter, couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. And he comes back and he finds these guys asleep, and there is an important lesson for us here, okay? Because I believe what I talked about earlier when I said that Jesus is modeling for us to bring our people around us when we are facing difficult things. I believe that surrounding ourselves in community is biblical. I believe it goes all the way back to the Old Testament. I believe after Jesus' death on the cross, I believe that it is modeled all through the New Testament. This is a biblical concept to surround ourselves with people, with community, with people who love God and who are chasing after him. And this is not just some little thing. This is a big deal for us. And people should be a support to us. They should be a strength for us in difficult times, but they cannot be the strength for us. If other people are our rock, if they are our source of strength, if they are the cornerstone with which we build our lives on, they will fail us because they're people. Because we're all people. Like I'm a person, and I am broken and messed up. And if you build everything on me, it will come crashing down at some point, because I'm not Jesus. I'm not perfect. And so, yeah, we need community. That is incredibly biblical, but our lives should not be built on other people and other people's faith and other people's strength, because they will fall. And this is an important truth for us. We need to ask ourselves, what have I built my support system on? Where is my strength? Is it on my parents? Is it on my spouse? Is it on a group of friends? Is that my source of strength? Is that the rock on which I have built my entire life? Or is it God? Is he my ultimate source of strength? Is he my ultimate source of hope? Is he who I go to in the darkest of times? The other thing that Jesus says in this passage is that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Jesus really wanted these guys to be praying more for themselves than for Jesus. He's going and getting prepared for what he has to do, but he also knows that the hours and days ahead for these guys are going to be tough. They are going to be painful. They're going to be a struggle. And so he says, you need to be praying. You need to keep watch with me, and you need to pray with me. You need to get ready, because your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. And you need to get ready. You need to prepare. And then there's one more thing in this section that I noticed this week, and I don't want to dive into this completely, but it just kind of smacked me in the face a little bit this week, and so I wanted to just go ahead and share that blessing with you. Jesus comes back and says to his disciples, I've only been gone an hour. I've only been praying an hour. Which infers that for Jesus, an hour in prayer is a relatively short amount of time. And I just got hit with that this week, kind of wrestling through my prayer life. And kind of holding what my prayer life looks like up to Jesus and saying, man, if for Jesus an hour is a short prayer, I know I'm not Jesus, but oof. I think I need to take this a little bit more seriously. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm not trying to tell you it's now X number of hours that you need to pray in order to be following Jesus closely. I don't know. I think prayer looks different in different seasons. I think we're commanded to pray without ceasing. I think that that's something where we can be praying all the time through everything we're going through. But Jesus isn't just going through life here. He set aside time to pray, so that's different. And I'm not trying to get up here and tell you this is exactly what your prayer life needs to look like and it should be this much time, but I just think we all need to take a second and wrestle with this. That Jesus comes back and is I've only been praying for an hour, guys. And I know for me, I need to be dedicating more time to being alone with God, to being alone in prayer with him. Jesus continues and prays this in verse 42. Then Jesus left them a second time and prayed, my Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done. When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open. And this prayer is really similar, but it feels like it's shifted a little bit here. In the first prayer, it's God, if there's another way, God, if there's another way, God, if there's another way. And then here it's all right, God, if this is what it is, I'm in. This prayer feels a little bit more like Jesus being willing to say, all right, I would still love it if there was another way. I would still love it if there could be another solution. But if this is what it is, God, I'm in. I will take on this suffering. I will take on the sins of the world. And guys, here's the truth for us. Jesus didn't get forced to die on the cross. The Father didn't force the Son. Jesus chose this. He chose to submit. He chose to say, all right, I don't want to. I don't like it. It's not going to be comfortable. I'm not going to enjoy it. But I love them. And so if this is the only way, then I'm in. I will do whatever it takes to pay for the sins of the world. And then he finds his disciples sleeping again and kind of again is like, hey guys, like please pray. This is really important. And he goes back and we're told that he prays kind of the same things again. And then he comes back and you guessed it, they're asleep. And this time he wakes them up and says, well, at least you got some rest. But it's time to get up. Because the hour has come, my betrayer is here. And at this, Judas and his kind of mob of people have entered the garden. And Judas comes to greet Jesus, and we're told that he greets him with this greeting of greetings, Rabbi, and has told everybody ahead of time it'll be the one that I kiss, which was a common friendly greeting for close friends in this day where he would have come over and he would have kissed Jesus on each cheek. And the Greek term used in this greetings, Rabbi, would have had like a warm hello, kind of like a hearty, like, hey, what's up, man? And so Judas walks in and says, hey, teacher. And he goes over to Jesus and he kisses his cheeks. And honestly, there's a part of me that doesn't even understand what's happening in Judas's mind at this point. Because like everybody knows what he's there for. Like he arrived with Roman soldiers. Some religious leaders, we're told, not told, we believe, studying some of the things of the day, that like around 60 people were in this mob. And they arrived to arrest Jesus, and like everyone knows what's happening, and yet still, Judas has this mask on. It's like you almost can't turn off how much he's faking it here. And he greets him like you would greet a close friend in the lobby that you haven't seen all week or something, and you'd be like, hey, what's up? And you run over and give him a hug. And Jesus is just really, at this point, it feels like he's just not having it because he's like, all right, do what you came here for. And then the disciples kind of get it, and so they start to draw their swords to defend Jesus, and he quickly tries to diffuse this situation, but Peter acts really quickly without thinking at all, as Peter does, and so he ends up lopping a dude's ear off. And Jesus is doing everything he can to like keep things calm. So he picks up this ear and heals the guy real quick, like it's no big deal or something. And he tells his disciples to put away their swords. And really at this point, he's like, guys, what are you doing? Like if I needed defended right now, if I wanted to be defended, I would not choose you 12 fishermen to be like, here we go. Like this is, and there's only 11 of them now, right? So like, and so he's like, come on. He actually tells them that, like, don't you know that if I asked my Father to, he would send down more than 12 legions of angels, which a legion in that time would have been a large number of soldiers. I didn't actually figure out the number. I figured out the total and then talked myself into this hole. It would have been 72,000 angels for there to be 12 legions. 12 legions of angels is 72,000. That's a lot of angels. And Jesus in this moment is like, hey, If I needed an army, I'd call down an army. And he keeps everything calm, and he just really gives himself over. And then we read this in verse 56. But this all happened to fulfill the words of the prophets as recorded in the scriptures. At that point, all the disciples deserted him and fled. And at the end, as Jesus is being arrested, everybody leaves him. All of these brave disciples who'd been with him for years, who claimed over and over and over again, like, we're in till the end, Jesus. We will die with you, Jesus. We're all in. They're like, we're going to run now. And they run away. And yet in the midst of all of this, in the midst of the craziness, in the midst of this arrest, in the midst of this impending execution, in the midst of betrayal by one of his closest friends, in the midst of all of this, Jesus remains so calm. Like, he stops things from getting violent. He just keeps things calm. And I believe wholeheartedly that Jesus, while he is fully God, the 100% human part of Jesus, was able to remain calm in this moment because he was prepared. Because he had spent the time preparing. When he knew I only have a few hours left, he was like, I need to go get ready. I need to go prepare for what God has next. I need to go prepare my heart. I need to go be honest with my God. I need to go submit to him. I need to go spend time remembering that I do trust him. And so he prepared. And guys, in our lives, we are going to face storms. Hopefully none of us ever face betrayal, trial, and execution on like the same night, but we're gonna face storms. And we are gonna face struggles, and we are gonna face things that don't seem like they make sense because we live in a broken and messed up world, and things are gonna happen to people that we love, that we hate, and we're going to struggle. We're gonna face storms, and so we have to be prepared. We have to get ready for that, and so we have to pray. We have to spend time before our God. We have to be honest with him. I have kind of these three main takeaways from how Jesus lives these out, and so I just want to walk through them with you guys. I think the first thing that is kind of the how of how we have to pray is that we have to pray together. Look, people are not our only source of strength. They shouldn't be our primary source of strength, but they are a source of strength. And something happens when we gather together as a group of believers and we pray together. I believe that there's something supernatural about the encouragement that happens from that. And look, the people in your life, they care about you. They care about what's going on in your life. And so they want to be brought in and they want to pray for you. I know the people in my life that I really love and that I care about, when they are struggling, I am struggling because it hurts me for them to hurt. And so I want to be with them in those moments. I want to pray with them in those moments. And so we have to pray together. We also have to pray honestly. We have to be willing to be vulnerable enough with each other and with God to be real in those moments. God does not desire our lip service. He does not desire us being fake and pretending. He doesn't need that. And honestly, guys, I don't want to be anything like Judas in this. I don't want to be the one who's so used to faking it that in the moment where it doesn't even make sense to be faking it anymore that I can't turn it off. We have to pray honestly. But ultimately, guys, we have to pray his will. We have to go to God and be real with him, and then we have to do the very difficult thing, because it is difficult, guys. In those moments where we are struggling, where we are stressed, where we are facing something that feels insurmountable and all-consuming and just absolutely terrifying. It's hard to just let go and say, all right, God, I want your will in this. I have desires, I have things that I want from my human perspective. I do, but at the end of the day, God, what I want more than that is I want your will. But guys, when we pray for his will, when we trust him in those moments, it's how we as followers of Jesus can have hope. It's how we can know that no matter what happens, no matter the brokenness that happens here on earth, we have hope. Because we serve a God that's not bound to here. We serve a God that's so far beyond what we experience here on earth. We serve an eternal God, and we have eternal hope in him. And when we submit to him and we trust him and we let go in those moments, we can remember that he's got this beyond what we can comprehend. He's got this beyond what we can understand. He's so far beyond our thoughts. The Bible tells us that his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are higher than our ways. So we have to pray his will. Guys, as you go out this week and as you face the storms of life, I just want to encourage you, be prepared. Let me pray for us. God, I thank you. I thank you for Jesus. I thank you for his final hours. I thank you for the incredible things that we can learn. God, I thank you for being willing to listen to us. I thank you that we can be honest with you. God, we love you. We trust you. God, we don't always like what's happening. We don't always understand, but Father, at the end of the day, we submit to your will. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.